Alex, you know that I care about you. With everything that has happened, I just want what's best for you.
He doesn't know. No one will once I leave this place. I'll just be a normal girl in a normal town.
Hi guys, what's up? Welcome back to another review. So September and October is lined up with some impressive AAA games, and all that has been listed down for all we want to play, especially when 2021 was a year of delays. So today we are playing the much awaited Life is Strange game, that is Life is Strange True Colors. And honestly, I had been waiting to play this ever since it was first announced in the early 2021. And just by getting to the playthrough, this has got me the feeling of being the best Life is Strange game played so far. So this is Fenris Wolf on behalf of Gamer Overlord, and all the information that I will be bringing out in this video is with respect to how I have played the game right from the start. And if you find it relatable, do please hit the like as well as the subscribe button, and make sure you click that bell icon for more such incoming reviews. So making myself and everything else clear, let's get started. Now moving on to the system requirements, normally I won't be that surprised to say that Life is Strange games are much spec heavy, but they have gone to a notch higher with respect to the graphic scaling, as you may need at least a GTX Nvidia card starting from 750 Ti to 1050 Ti to barely run the game. In terms of AMD GPUs, you need at least a Radeon HD 7790 with a minimum of 6 GB RAM and a normal Intel 2nd generation i5 or an AMD Athlon X4 processor. Well, if you need the most optimum performance, GTX cards ranging from 1050 Ti to 1660 Ti will be ideal with 16 GB of RAM and at most a 10th generation i5 or an i7 CPU. For AMD users, 3rd generation Ryzen will suitably give the best performance. Now, one thing that I would like to add is with respect to the spec to performance ratio, which is basically ideal because I tested this in low to ultra settings, and in my 1060 GTX card I got more than expected performance. But that would not mean that I am witnessing the best outcome of the game, and I would genuinely recommend you all to play it in the RTX cards, basically 2070 and the 360 cards for ray tracing, and to play the game especially in 4K, which will be worth it. Now, moving on to the storyline, I genuinely felt that this is one of the most emotional supernatural themed games, irrespective of the fact that Life is Strange franchise genuinely, like goes on to show the real perspective of life. And just like how the first game started with a female protagonist, here too you play one as Alex Chen, who seemed to have a troubled childhood and came to a fictional town called Haven Springs, which is supposed to be based in Colorado, America. Now, the turning point of her life is when Alex loses her younger brother, Gabe, after a mysterious accident, and that has left her shattered as well as with some supernatural empathetic abilities to bring the town's secrets out. And with respect to that, Alex is able to interact with items that contains memories such as audio logs, which kind of share secrets or inhibitions about certain characters involved in the game. So, with an interactive game such as this, I felt this ability to be a nice add on the overall powers that Alex actually possesses, which helps us to make dialogue choices less complicated, adding a bit of curiosity factor about something that is really going fishy about Heaven Springs residents. Now, because of the increased emphasis on the consequences of our actions, there are also times when you end up making guesses of the outcomes which seemed unnecessary. So, all I have to say is that choose your choices wisely. And other than that, there may be so many things to spoil for you, especially in this review. So, therefore, the baseline of the story is find what happened to Gabe using your powers, develop relationships with those involved in the game, find their secrets, investigate, and draw conclusions. And instead of making this an episodic game, Deck 9 Games, which are also the new developers for this one, made it a chapter wise game of more interactions, more investigations, and negotiating dialogue choices for a 14-hour long emotional battle. For the manner in which the storyline is paced and presenting it in a much natural way, I give Life is Strange True Colors a Story an Overlord score of 9.5 on 10. Now, heading to the graphics, again, I would like to say that this parameter is only relevant if you like interactive games such as this, where focus is on detailing more on the environment rather than on the character. And that would mean that the focus on the characters is blunt, but the ideal graphical concept is actually stressed upon more on the environments and the manner in which the characters react. Decknan by far outshines Dontnod in this aspect of presenting graphical details more for visual appeal than being to just being a normal feature in the game. Now talking about more details about the locations, Heaven Springs looks stunning thanks to the idea that Colorado is a scenic place in real, which helped the makers to decide to bring a blend of snowy mountains to the colorful flower-filled streets, giving a vibe of a tourism game at first. And as we keep proceeding, the environments where we interact to is explicitly detailed, such as from Alexa's phone to the social media access to the colorful streets, which makes me wonder why this can't be called a open world game at the first place. Besides that, the RPG element in each chapter takes you to new horizons of exploration with the help of your supernatural abilities, making it a complete visual treat. Since this is not being an indie game, people would expect Life is Strange to become a more RPG oriented one, which would be unfair because the setting of the game and its graphics is primarily made to make this game an emotional experience. For the well lit and detailed environments and character interactions, I give Life is Strange True Colors a graphical score of 8.5 on 10. Now, back to the parameter which matters to any review the most is, of course, the gameplay and the mechanics. And I honestly feel that there is a bit of cliche in terms of how you control the character and how you handle those RPG choices in the game. Unlike euphoric open world games such as Control, Murdered Soul Suspect, or The Quantum Break, it's just you who has to treat this game normally because there is not much action and you have to treat the controls very, very differently. Now, it's like you have to control your sentiment regarding how you react in the game, not being evil minded or sympathy driven to the protagonist who just had the worst phase in her life. While the series previously was dependent on elements such as time travel or telekinesis or mind reading, Alexa's superpower is to feel people's heightened emotions and absorb those in her body, which for some thrill seekers may sound a bit uninteresting. But that's how actually where the RPG elements help you to seek, that is, make the game more interesting by helping you interact with items to explore more, such as examining photos or looking at the flyers or choosing sides among your friends in an argument or getting to know more secrets about your city and so on. Now, with respect to the mechanics, I think this has made me feel more satisfied because you actually handle Alex the way you may be doing to yourself, having some mood swings in interactions where you are not treated appropriately or interaction based on your way of liking and so on. So Deck 9 has aimed in making players aware of who Alex is, her powers as well as her limitations, so that you become a free to handle kind of a sort where the mysteries has to be unraveled in the game. And for long, I really don't want people to compare this game with other heavy duty open world games where thrill is more the option. But here, by handling Alex the way you want, it will also help you know about your abilities as a person in real life too. For the neat control setting, RPG elements, and character handling, True Colors earns a gameplay and mechanics score of 9 on 10. Now, coming on to the characterization, I would like to remind you guys that Alex is not the only one stealing all the limelight in this soul-searching game. Two friends from the previous games, that is Ralph and Steph, are part of this one too, adding a much familiar dimension to the Life is Strange franchise. And other than the mystery-solving propaganda, I think the characters give you options for understanding human behavior more, just as we have seen in the previous games, but that one flaw that we have noticed regarding romance option is also being limited with respect to the game's storyline. So that one feature is easily missing, though that might not have been kept for keeping up to the pace of the game. For the characters, subtle behavior features, choice of making friends, and the direction syncing with each character's role with respect to the storyline, the game's characterization earns a score of 9 on 10. Now again, thrill quotient is one such parameter where I look into segments of the game which makes you feel overall satisfied. And for a counter judgment, I can say True Colors is definitely not going to give positive thrill vibes because you are trying to understand life better from a protagonist who has probably lost a sibling and also is looking to redeem herself. And in such a scenario, I guess making for that loss is what seems as soothing And it's also not one game where you can be adventurous either. The game's focus is pinpointed in your search to solve the mystery, and by all means enhancing you with some empathetic powers and learn from that bond that you make from your friends in the game. Now, for the people who are being social in intermittent periods, this is one such game which can be an ideal eye opener, and much to the shock of those seeking adventure and excitement, this game by no surprise will actually disappoint. And so that is where I would like to say that perception is quite important in playing this one. And I would definitely like to say that you cannot also treat this game as a RPG heavy, cause it's not the first time you explore dialogue choices and branch them to alternate endings, and that would just guide you by choices and all those things that as developers clearly want to make in the game. So, not being adventurous, I might say this parameter may get suppressed, but how you perceive the elements from the previous games and relate it aptly in this one, for that, I think this game easily gets a thrill quotient score of 8.5 on 10. Now, so far, so good. We have discussed probably all the details, and now coming to the final verdict. I honestly would like to appreciate the effort put up by Deck 9 Games, especially because they are a new studio which are coming up with a great story and solid pacing for the game. There is also great relatability and mixing of those supernatural elements with neutral open world choices to make this a great game worth the wait. So the game earns an overall Overlord score of 8.9 on 10. So that's basically it from the review, guys. If you feel there are certain points that has to be added with this review, you can express your views in the comment section about how you felt when you played the game. Also, do follow our Discord server for short updates that we won't be coming in our videos. That will range from news, from updates to some of the opinions that I may have about AAA games or indie games as well. And also follow our Instagram and Twitter handles for short cryptic updates that we would be bringing out regularly. See you guys in our next review.